Hello dear children, welcome you all back to science class. In our last class we have learned about friction. We have understood that friction is the force acting between two surfaces that are in contact with each other. And this force will oppose the movement of one object over the other object. And we call this force as force of friction or frictional force. We have already learned that as you see here in the picture. Now if there is a force that is acting towards the right side, for example, we push an object towards the right side. So there is movement of object now towards the right side. But this force of friction will always act in the opposite direction of the movement of the object. So here we see that the motion of the object is towards the right side as you see here, but the force of friction is acting towards the opposite direction, that is towards the left side. Keeping this in mind, now let us see some of the uses of friction. Have you ever thought why are we able to walk on road without skidding and falling down? Yes, we can walk on the road because there is a force of friction that is existing between our feet and also on the ground. So it is this force of friction that will prevent us from slipping and falling while we walk. So as you can see here, there is frictional force that acts in the opposite direction of the movement of the object. Now, when our foot will try to slip in the backward direction, this force of friction will act in the opposite direction. That is, force of friction will act in the right direction. That is, in the forward direction. So, if there is no friction between our feet and the ground, there is definitely a chance that we will slip while we walk. Same like that, when you try to write with a pen or a pencil on a piece of paper, will you be able to do that? Yes, we can easily write anything on a paper with a pen or a pencil. Now, how does this happen? This is because there is a force of friction that exists between the tip of a pen or pencil and also paper. That is why we are able to write on paper with a pen or a pencil. Same like that. Have you ever wondered how does a matchstick light up when it is struck against the sides of a matchbox? Yes, we know that again it is the same force of friction which is acting between the tip of this matchstick and the side of this matchbox. So we can easily light a matchstick because of the force of friction. Similarly, we can write anything on a blackboard with a piece of chalk. Now this is again because of the force of friction which exists between the blackboard and this piece of chalk. So this force of friction will help us to write on blackboard with a chalk. Similarly, we can also erase any pencil marks on a paper as you see here because of the force of friction which exists between an eraser and also that of paper. So it is this force of friction that will help us to erase pencil marks. Now, have you ever thought why do vehicles move on the road without skidding off the road? This is mainly because there is a force of friction which acts between the tires of vehicles and also that of the road. So it is this force of friction between the tires and the road that will help the vehicles to move on the road without skidding off the road. So another important use of friction is that this force of friction will help vehicles to move on the road. Friction will also help moving vehicles to stop by the application of brakes. So we know that it is because of the force of friction, moving vehicles will suddenly stop when we apply brakes. So these are some of the uses of friction. So we are going to learn about the harmful effects or disadvantages of friction in our coming class.